The day I stood on my own daughter's doorstep with nothing left but a small duffel bag, I never imagined she would refuse to let me inside. A devastating wildfire had destroyed my farmhouse, my barn, my orchard, and every memory my late husband and I had built over 40 years. I believed my daughter, Emily, would open her home without hesitation. Instead, her wealthy husband looked me up and down and coldly refused, saying I would ruin their expensive Persian rug and that they had no place for a homeless woman. The words shattered my heart. Even worse, my daughter stood beside him in silence before gently suggesting I find a senior shelter instead. As I sat alone in my old pickup truck, I realized I had lost more than my home. I had lost the daughter I had sacrificed my entire life for. After my husband died, I worked 3 exhausting jobs to keep our farm alive and provide Emily with the future she dreamed of. Every dollar I earned went toward her education and happiness, while I quietly ignored my own dreams. Looking back, I remembered another child who had grown up beside us. His name was Ethan, the neglected boy from the neighboring farm whose parents barely cared for him. I fed him, helped him with school, and treated him like family whenever he needed a safe place to stay. With nowhere else to turn, I found Ethan's old phone number and called him after 15 years. To my surprise, he answered immediately and recognized my voice. The moment he heard what had happened, he became furious on my behalf. He reminded me that I had always been the only real parent he ever had and promised I would never spend another night alone. He booked me into a luxury hotel, insisted I rest, and quietly revealed something I never expected. The frightened little boy I once cared for had become one of the wealthiest technology entrepreneurs in America, worth billions of dollars. The following morning, Ethan flew across the country in his private helicopter and took me back to my daughter's neighborhood. Curious neighbors gathered as the helicopter landed nearby. Emily and her husband walked outside, completely shocked. Ethan calmly introduced himself as the son I had chosen through love, rather than blood. He reminded them how I had fed him, protected him, and given him hope when nobody else cared. Then he looked directly at my daughter and told her she had abandoned the woman who sacrificed everything for her. In front of everyone, Ethan handed me the deed to a beautiful estate and announced he had created a $25 million trust fund in my name. He promised that I would never struggle again because I deserved a life filled with peace, comfort, and dignity. Emily suddenly realized who she had rejected and desperately tried to apologize, but Ethan gently reminded her that what she had done was not a simple mistake. It was a choice, and every choice carries consequences. My new life felt almost unreal. I moved into a beautiful home surrounded by peaceful countryside, where kind staff treated me with respect and warmth. Ethan visited often, not because he had to, but because he truly wanted to spend time with me. Together, we created a foundation that helped struggling single mothers rebuild their lives, giving other families the support I had once needed myself. For the first time in decades, I finally lived for my own happiness instead of constantly sacrificing everything for someone else. Months later, Emily returned, hoping to repair our relationship. At first, she blamed fear and confusion, but eventually admitted the truth. She had spent her whole life trying to escape poverty and had become so obsessed with wealth and appearances that she forgot what love and loyalty truly meant. I forgave her in my heart, but I refused to rescue her from the consequences of her own decisions. Forgiveness did not mean returning to the same painful relationship. As time passed, her marriage collapsed. Her comfortable lifestyle disappeared, and she was forced to rebuild her life from nothing. Meanwhile, Ethan continued treating me with the kindness and gratitude he had shown since he was a little boy. He often reminded people that every success in his life began at my kitchen table, where someone finally believed in him. Losing my farm once felt like the end of my story, but it became the beginning of a better one. I discovered that true family is not defined by blood, money, or social status. It is built through loyalty, sacrifice, and unconditional love. The daughter I gave everything to walked away when I needed her most, while the boy I simply chose to love came back and gave me a future I never imagined possible. In the end, I learned that the strongest families are not always the ones we are born into. Sometimes they are the ones we build with kindness, and those bonds can last forever.